Hi and welcome to Old Time Knowledge. Well, in this video I am going to be demonstrating this super cool device that I absolutely love. I already sort of did a run through of it and review of it on my other channel, OTK Garden and Prep, but I wanted to do a video on this channel because this is just too good not to share with everyone. This company actually reached out to me to see if I wanted to test they have a jar vacuum sealer. The company is called Love Moment. It's a brand on Amazon. They said they had the little jar vacuum sealer, wanted to know if I wanted to test it out. And you know, honestly, I get a lot of companies contacting me about testing different products and I don't always do it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It really depends on whether or not I even need what they're wanting me to test or whether it makes sense for this channel. In this case, I have long been using the jar sealers from FoodSaver. And that's what I've been using for years and years and years. But the thing is, they come with a lot of parts. And it's just clunky and I have to store them away somewhere else. I do use my FoodSaver for sealing up things for the freezer or the pantry in bags. I love the FoodSaver bags, but I do not love the FoodSaver jar sealer. So I said, sure, I'll be glad to try this out. It'll be interesting to see how it works. So they sent it to me. I charged it up. First, let me show you. This is the box. And it comes with this unit. This is it. I'm going to show you how it works in just a minute. It comes with the cable that you would need, which you would just use any, it's a USB-C cable. You'll just use any USB wall charger, or you can even plug it into your computer or any device you have that charges USB and charge it up. Once it's charged up, it seems to last a good long while. I did a lot of vacuum sealing of jars the other day, and I just turned it on to check and see, and it still has 72% of battery left in it. And so that's pretty awesome. So today I decided what I'm going to do, and I'm going to readjust this camera a bit. All right, I decided today what I'm going to do is I have some things that I really need to vacuum seal just to keep them fresh. One is some flaked coconut. My son's birthday was the other day. I made him a Leches cake. I've made that before on this channel, so I will link to that in the description below. But I have all of these coconut flakes left over, and I don't want them to, go bad. So I'm going to put them in a jar and seal them up. And it might be that I might not even need a quart size. Let me grab a pint jar real quick. All right, so I have a pint jar. So I'm just going to get one of these canning funnels. Let me move this out of the way. Move these back here. All right, so I have my canning funnel, and I am going to honestly, y'all, I should have measured this before I started recording the video, but that's okay. Okay, I guess I can use a quart jar for this. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. I'll just put this right here. I'll dump this in here. And I personally prefer this kind of coconut flakes to the ones that are sweetened, because generally when I'm putting coconut in something, the recipe's already going to have sugar, so I don't need to have sugar added to the coconut as well. So I love that. Those are natural, unsweetened, and they're delicious. They give the coconut flavor without adding a ton more sugar. All right, so they're in here. They're ready to go. Now, the vacuum sealer comes with a box of lids for regular mouth jars and wide mouth jars. I've already used up most of the regular mouth jar lids. I have one left. So I'm going to just put this on here. I know that these jars are clean, so I'm not worried about that. Now let me show you how this works. This is pretty cool. Now if you have a FoodSaver and you use the jar sealers for the FoodSaver, you have the regular mouth one, and then you have the wide mouth one. And then you have the hose that either connects to your big FoodSaver machine, or you can use a little handheld sealer. All right. this device is all contained in one unit, and it just comes apart into two pieces. So this is the whole unit. There's the USB-C plug right there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because I know it's dark and it's on a dark, it's kind of dark background. And then that's the power button. You have an unlock and lock here. This is the regular mouth opening. And then if I wanted to use the wide mouth, I would just turn this to the unlock position, remove it, and then this is the wide mouth opening. But I'm going to be doing regular mouth jars, so I'm going to put this back right here, and then put it back into the lock position. And now I'm going to put this on top of this jar and press it down snugly. All right? And I'm going to turn it on, and you're going to see it starts counting. The first time I did this, I had no idea what was going on. I figured it was just going to like go up to 100 and then be like 100% and then it would be done. But no, it's just counting seconds. And so what it's doing is it's sucking the air out of the jar. What will actually happen is when it's done, the vacuum will release and it will pop up. So if you've had a FoodSaver vacuum sealer, then you know that what often happens is it will run and run and run, and you won't always know for sure if the jar has sealed, so you'll lift it up only to find that the jar hasn't really sealed yet. So then you'll have to put it down again and run it again, and hopefully eventually you get the air sucked out of the jar. But in this one, it's really clear. When it's sealed, the vacuum releases and it pops right up, and then you take it off. It doesn't pop it up like throw it off. You'll see what happens in just a minute. If you're going to be vacuum sealing things that are like powders, I've heard, and I've not actually sealed a lot of things with powders before, but I've heard it's good to like just put a cupcake liner in the jar on top of the powder just to keep the powder from going up into the vacuum sealer. So that's what I'll be doing, because in a minute, after I'm done vacuum sealing the coconut, I will be vacuum sealing some powdered milk that I have that I'm not using fast enough. Of course, this is also great for vacuum sealing pasta, vacuum sealing chocolate, chocolate chips, any kind of baking chips, any kind of things like that. Things you don't want to vacuum seal would include things like brown sugar, which will turn into a brick if you put it in a jar and vacuum seal it. Probably marshmallows are a bad idea. Really anything with moisture in it, you don't want to vacuum seal, because that would be something that botulism could happen, which you would want to avoid. That's why we do canning. And but there's a lot of different things that you can preserve. Another thing I like to preserve in vacuum sealed jars is dehydrated food, and I dehydrate a lot of things, especially at the end of the summer. I'll plug my dehydrator in, which is too big to keep in the house all the time, but I'll plug it in and I'll dehydrate quite a bit towards the end of the summer, and then vacuum seal different items. One of my favorites is scalloped potatoes, and it's great having those on my pantry shelf. They're from my garden. They're potatoes that I've put through the mandolin and gotten them really thin, and then I can use them in a delicious homemade scalloped potatoes recipe. And I can tell by the numbers, it's at 167, 169, 170, 171. It's going to probably release soon, because this is normally about how long it takes to totally suck the air out of the jar. Okay, so I don't know if you heard that, but it just sort of made a and then it sort of released, and now I'll be able to take it off, and I have a perfect seal. Okay, so that's how it works. I'm going to go ahead and get some of the non-fat dry milk in a jar, and then I'll put a cupcake liner on top, and I will start this one and go get a couple of my other dehydrated items to show you how they look in the jars that are vacuum sealed. I'll just put this little cupcake liner right down here, just like that. And this time I'm just using one of my regular canning jar lids. And by the way, if you didn't know, you can get regular size canning jar lids at the Dollar Tree. I did a video about that. I tested them. These aren't Dollar Tree lids. These are 4 jars lids. But you can get them from the Dollar Tree. And I mean, what a great way to use Dollar Tree canning lids. If you don't want to use them for pressure canning or for canning, water bath canning, you can use them for vacuum sealing. Right now, I'm just using this 4 jars lid because I've got lots and lots of different canning lids. I'm going to get this back on. Again, press it down all the way. Turn it on. I'm going to let it run. But I'm going to speed this up so that you don't have to just watch this run. In the meantime, I'm going to get some dehydrated things to show you how they look. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Sealed perfectly. No problem whatsoever with powder getting into the vacuum sealer. I'm going to show you some other things that I have dehydrated and vacuum sealed. Here's a mixture of peppers and onions. Just, you know, you get the frozen peppers and onions from the grocery store. You can put them in your dehydrator, dehydrate them, and then they're great to vacuum seal in jars, and you have them for recipes, soups, or whatever. Then, let's see. Here are some dehydrated mushrooms. Dehydrating beans is a great idea. If you have some and you've canned a bunch but you have a lot left over, you can keep them in vacuum sealed jars, and that will help keep them fresh longer. You know, beans, when they get really old, they can just take forever and they really don't soften. Like, it takes so long and they don't ever get truly soft like they do when they're fresh, but vacuum sealing them definitely helps keep them fresh longer. These are the little potatoes O'Brien frozen potatoes that you can get in the freezer section at the grocery store. I don't keep a lot of these on hand because I have them fresh. I mean, I have them in my freezer, that kind of thing. But these are great to have because if I wanted to and didn't have any others, I could rehydrate these and cook them just like I would if I had taken them out of my freezer. Let's see. I did these just the other day. I had a bunch of pecans left over from several months ago. I had bought a big bag of whole pecans from Sam's Club, and I had a lot left over, so I broke them up into several pint jars and sealed them. And so this is a great way to keep nuts fresh. And then here are my lovely scalloped potatoes. And I love these because these are potatoes that I grew. They came from my garden. Well, I didn't grow them. God grew them. He grew them in my garden. Anyway, but this is great because I can actually use these with powdered milk and salt and other seasonings to make a delicious scalloped potato in my oven. Better than what you get in a box at the store. It's really great. So all right, I've been busily sealing jars, and I've put some of the other ones away. I wanted to mention a couple of things. First of all, I like to label the tops of the jars when I vacuum seal them. In the past, I haven't always done that, and it's kind of a sad situation because I don't remember like when. So if I don't have some labeled, I will try to use those first because that way I know I'm going ahead and using up things that are probably older. But in general, I do try to label when I sealed them. If it's something that might be one of multiple things, I'll write what it is on top. So this is powdered milk. And I do this because I also vacuum seal some bread mixes that I put together. I'll put all the ingredients in the jar except for the liquid ingredients and things like that. And that includes even a package of yeast. And then I'll seal them up. And so I wouldn't want to be confused about what's in these jars. I wanted to show you when I'm sealing a wide mouth jar, how it works. So this is the regular mouth jar that I've been using, the regular mouth sealer. To do the wide mouth, I'm just taking this off and I'll switch it to this, and this is the wide mouth one. I don't really typically use wide mouth jars to seal things a lot, just because, especially the regular mouth jar lids can be bought at the Dollar Tree, and so they're super cheap. But for demonstration purposes, I will show you how it works with this. This is one of the lids that came with the vacuum sealer. So I've just removed the regular mouth extension, and now I will just put this on top. And I mean, y'all, I'm sealing a lot of stuff, you know, so this charge is, again, I sealed a lot of jars the other day. I've sealed a lot of jars today. So, I mean, over the course of a few days, I've sealed a number of jars. This is just going to seal this jar, have these candy canes are from Christmas. I still like to keep these in my pantry for whatever. I haven't been too worried about sealing them, but I thought I want to demonstrate a wide mouth jar, and this is a good opportunity to do that. So I'm just going to let this finish running, and then I'll show you. You see how that released? All right, and it's 65%. That's how much battery's left. So I take this off, perfectly sealed. Now, I did want to mention another thing. One thing that I think is very important when it comes to vacuum sealing jars as opposed to canning is when I have vacuum sealed jars, I will absolutely put a ring on the lid and tighten it really tight. Why do I do this for vacuum sealing, but I don't do this for canning? The reason why is because when you're canning, you don't want to keep the rings on your jars if you can help. I mean, sometimes people they have limited space, and if you're going to keep the ring on the jar, it should be loose, very loose. But for vacuum sealing, tightening it down is a good idea. When you're canning, having the ring tightened on the jar can create a false seal. So you might think that your jar is sealed properly, but let's say you've put it in your pantry and a month from now that seal actually lets go, which means air and whatnot is getting in the jar, possibly anything that could contaminate it might be getting in the jar, and it's just growing and growing and growing. And when you have the ring on the jar, it can, you know, the lid can end up sticking to the jar so that when you go to open it, you think it's got a good seal. It's a false seal. That could make you and your family sick because the food can actually be contaminated. However, you don't have that issue with vacuum sealing. You've got things that are already dry, that are in the jars. You've got a lid on it. You've sucked all the air out. The reason why you can tighten a ring on it, which is a good idea, is to try to keep a seal. If for some reason it does release, it's still going to keep the air out for the most part. It's going to keep any exchange of air or other things from getting into or out of the jar. So that's why when I vacuum seal things, I will use a ring, whereas when I have canned things, I will not store the jars with the rings. I'll store the jars without the rings. So you don't need to sit here and watch me put rings on all these jars. I'll take care of that. I hope this has been helpful. What I want to say is, if you vacuum seal things, and I don't know why you wouldn't, this is something that I would definitely recommend. There are not a lot of products that I get super excited about, but I'm really super excited about this one. What I love about it the most is, again, the fact that this is all contained as one unit. Everything just fits nicely right in this box. I can close it up, store it away, and it's ready for next time. It does seem to hold a charge pretty well. It might not be quite as fast at vacuum sealing jars as the FoodSaver was, but then again, in a way, it might be just as fast because, again, the FoodSaver vacuum sealer doesn't always seal the first time, so you might have to try 2 or 3 times to get your jar sealed all the way. So I'm going to link to this product in the show notes below so that if you're interested, you can get it. I think this is a wise investment. I'm very happy with it, and I just wanted to share it with all of you. And you know, I love it when I hear tips from folks about things that they use as shortcuts in their kitchen or to make cooking easier or whatever. And so I'm just sharing this with all of you. All right. Well, as always, I thank you so much for watching. I'll link to the related videos in the notes below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.